Oh, starts automatically. Hey everyone, hope you're doing super well. I'm sitting down today with Ady Neshoda, who's one of our artists for Heresy magazine. Super excited to talk to her. Hey Ady.
Hi, how are you going?
Yeah, good. First of all, just to kick us off, obviously our audiences have never met you before and don't really know anything about you. So just wanted to know a little bit of like who you are, what you do, what you're into.
Right. So I'm Ady Neshoda, but people just call me Ady. I am a graphic designer and photographer, and I'm living and studying and working in Sydney. I guess, like in kind of terms of like the creative realm, I'm really interested in like the intersection between imagery and type, and how you can kind of use like typography to elevate and foster visuals. I'm kind of also interested in, I guess my work's quite like tactile and hands-on. So I'm kind of interested in that fusion of tactility and hands-on making with digital media, and how you can use that tactility on digital platforms or digital tools.
That is so interesting. I've never thought about that before. That is
Yeah.
very cool. So what did you create for Heresy magazine? Can you talk to us a bit about that project?
Yeah, so it's basically just a small kind of photographic series that speaks to rebellion and feminine energy. So I think that would just be like the kind of sentence to capture it. Yeah.
So what was your kind of, run us through the thinking behind that project? Like, how did you conceptualize it? What were you trying to get across?
Right. So I guess it kind of explores like what it means to like really embody and kind of embrace and amplify like that rebellious kind of feminine energy, and not like being afraid of its power, and kind of expressing your femininity in like a completely unapologetic way. There's this really great TED talk on body language. This will make sense soon once I run through it, but it speaks about kind of like body language and what that communicates, and the kind of idea of the non-verbal and its relationship to power dynamics, especially in terms of gender. So basically there was like this social psychologist, and she conducted like a study in this like prolific business school, and a lot of the grades are reliant on participation, and the study kind of demonstrates how power stances or power poses, so like a power pose is like taking up lots of space and being really confident, like this is a power pose. And then the kind of like the reverse of that is like sitting really small and like really timidly and like kind of covering yourself. And anyway, her study proves that like if you practice these poses for like 5 minutes a day, or like 5 minutes before you go into a classroom or like an interview or something, it actually lowers your cortisol levels, so like your stress hormones, and then heightens your testosterone. So then them like hormonal changes can figure your brain to be assertive and confident and comfortable and really stress reactive. So in terms of that there and body language, and that kind of TED talk that I had seen a while ago, I really wanted my subject to kind of form those like power stances, and her postures to be like them really kind of power poses, show her taking up space and like really embodying like her strong feminine power. And so then they're kind of the green images, and then on the reverse of that I've got them kind of red like tonal images, and that's kind of the opposite, like coming into herself and being that kind of like vulnerable state. So I guess that's a bit behind like the concept and like what I was thinking in terms of creating them and having them in that kind of educational space as well, because that's where I guess like gender equality can like play a role in those educational spaces.
I was going to ask that. So did you shoot it in a lecture theatre?
Yeah, it was actually at the UTS, one of the UTS's lecture theatres. So we had, I was in my final year of BizCom, and we had a lecture there every week. And the first like lecture I went into there, I said to one of my best mates, I was like, this would be sick for a photo shoot, like just like a full green lecture theatre. So I don't even know. Oh, I think I used Vertigo to get me in there.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, so
you can very much see the contrast, like the way that you've used color, you can very much see that contrast in the representation between gender, which is really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so with the publication, we're obviously looking at the idea of rebellion. It's entitled Heresy, which is a little bit of a rogue title. We're
Right.
kind of redefining what it means to be a heretic, kind of taking it out of the religious context and going more to kind of question this idea of rebellion. And we just wanted to ask, like, what does heresy mean to you?
Right. So yes, as you said, like the terms kind of, like rebellion and like non-conforming, I guess. So like in terms of, I'd say your publication, it kind of speaks about rebellion and that idea of hope. So I actually think it means, I guess, to me, it's kind of almost rebellious to be hopeful. Like, especially in this day and age, like it's so easy to fall into that trap of negativity, and like, you know, we're constantly bombarded with like sad news, and our world can be like really saturated and speeding, and especially like in current times, as we know, with COVID and stuff like that. So I actually think rebellion and hope kind of like work in unity with one another, and it's kind of like a really interesting space to kind of intertwine these two elements, like especially for creatives. Like if you look at any kind of social movement, like a social movement's deemed radical, right? Because they're fighting for change, they're kind of going against like societal structures or kind of breaking down norms, and they hold this kind of independent idea. And that then goes hand in hand with hope, because these movements are like hopeful, they're fighting for change. And I think creatives play a huge role in that, you know, art and design being quite significant and supportive and almost being the backbone behind movements. Like, when has creativity not kind of been a tool to contribute to these huge social changes? You know, every independent idea or kind of movement against the norm is paired with incredible independent design and art. And so I think that's what it means to me, and that's what also the publication as well. It's kind of using creativity as a tool. And
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time people that don't that like aren't involved in the world of design will often kind of see it as an afterthought, or like designers will kind of get pulled in at the last minute to represent the ideas of someone smarter or more powerful. So I think that's really cool, like to think of it as a tool within its own right and kind of re-elevate design to like prove how essential it is. Because I don't think we do that enough. That's very cool.
100%. And there's like, you're so right. There's so many people that just like, don't understand the ability of design, how actually important it is. And like, design is everywhere. Like, visual communication is like everywhere. Like, we hold so much power as designers. And so I think it's really important to use that power for change.
Yeah. Final question is honestly just a little bit of a soapbox for you. We were interested to know, what is it that you fight for? What are the causes that you're really passionate about? And is there anything that you want our audiences to know about those causes?
Oh God,
question, sorry.
No, that's all right. I guess I like to fight for a range of things. I'm a Taurus, so I'm very stubborn, but not forceful, but just like very strong in what I believe. I think Indigenous rights is like a great importance to me. Also, just like back on that topic, like as a creative, like I think it's so important to create shit that actually matters. Like, I don't know, in today's society, there's so many designers just like being pumped out of universities, and, you know, they get into the design industry and they work for these big design studios, and they're sitting there and they're like creating logos like for these big business companies and contributing to capitalism and like all that kind of stuff. And, you know, not all, but a number don't actually challenge or question what they're actually designing. And I think it's so important to be really critical of your work and have a critical approach to design. Like, critically look at what you're making, question, like, is this needed? Is this relevant? What is this helping? Like, especially in terms of sustainability and, you know, where we are at the moment with that. And yeah, kind of asking, like, is this work actually contributing to something bigger or helping something outside of myself? So that's, I guess, what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think we're going to leave it there, but thank you so much for contributing. We've really loved having you on board with this project.
Right. Thank you so much for inviting me to talk about this and also share my work. It's really, really humbling.
Yeah. It's been such a pleasure. So yeah, this is actually the first of our launch week talks, which is really exciting. So tune in later on this week. And we'll have a whole bunch more talks and content coming up. So yeah, stay tuned. Bye.
Thank you. See ya.